All right, so hello everyone. Good evening and good afternoon for people joining. Welcome you all to the Mumbai Tug. This is the first tug of this year 2024, and we hopefully want to do more such events for every quarter. So all of you who have joined, if you have any feedback, recommendations, please do reach out to Viraj and me. And yeah, let's get started. So, first of all, um, I would like to introduce me and Viraj, who are your hosts for today, and we are co leading the Mumbai Tug. So, my name is Jyoti Gautam, and I'm a Tableau Public Ambassador for the third year in a row. All thanks to Tableau for providing such recognition. And I'm working as a BI specialist at JLL. I love working with data analytics, visualizations, and I'm very passionate about like comparing different visual designs and how we can present the information and insights through our visualizations and dashboards. And yeah, if I'm not working, you will see me like working on some art and craft projects because I really love exploring different art forms like macrame, painting, sketching, and all the other doodling stuff as well. And apart from that, I love running outdoors, trekking. If somebody is interested in Mumbai to do the trek, I'm happy to join. And if you want to join, connect with me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well as on Twitter, which is called X now. So, yeah, that's about me. And now I will introduce Viraj. He's the new co-lead for the Mumbai Tug from this year. So welcome, Viraj, and I will hand over to you now to introduce yourself and take the agenda forward.
Thank you, Jyoti. And I think I'm not that creative as Jyoti said. She's good in art and craft, so I'm passionate about data and community and Tableau, and I'm working as a lead analyst at Merkle. I joined Mumbai Tech this year, but I'm a part of the Tableau newbies user group for last 2 years, and it's wonderful being part of the community. I'm the ambassador for this year, first for the first time. And if you want to connect with me, you just have to just search Data Tastemaker on Google, and you get to connect with me with on the different platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I'm also on Insta these days with the same handle. But I'm not sure if I'm going to survive there. But you can find me out there. Okay, let's move ahead. So today's agenda, we have two awesome speakers who will be talking about some two cool features of Tableau. So we have Arshiya Shaheen. She's going to talk about dynamic zone visibility, and then we have Prashant from Salesforce and Tableau, who's going to talk about the very hot product these days, the Tableau Pulse. And to have you be involved in this session, we have some cool swags for you, cool goodies. But then there's a catch. You have to be very attentive to these two sessions. We'll be asking one questions from each of these sessions, and whoever answers correct and fastest will get a prize from our side. So be attentive, be alert, and then we'll have some Q&A sessions later on for any questions. Okay. So, Shaheen. Shaheen is, I think she's a colleague of Jyoti. She work in JLL, but she's from Dubai. But she hails from India, and I think we just got to know she's from Chennai. So uh, it's good. So we have a Chennai tag also, but then she's part of the Mumbai tag now. So thank you for being here. I think she started Tableau using Tableau in 2020, introduced by her father. Wow. So probably I just got to learn Tableau from the course, so my dad was nowhere near to Tableau. um, so the e-learning courses definitely helped. So helped her in the Tableau journey, and She's a very active participant in Makeover Monday and Workout Wednesday community projects. These are some cool projects. You can be part of those. You can contribute it. She loves sharing visualization and connecting with the Tableau community. So the Data FM community, everyone loves them. She's a Tableau public ambassador, and I think she's going to talk about some very cool topic, dynamic zone visibility. Over to you, Shaheen.
All right, I will stop sharing and over to you, Shaheen.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be part of the Mumbai Tug. This is actually my second Tug presentation, so a bit nervous, but also excited at the same time. So, today I'm going to talk about the topic of dynamic zone visibility. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So let's jump into the topic of dynamic zone visibility. It's one of the new features that was introduced by Tableau. And I would say if anyone's familiar with, the use of swapping sheets or hiding a view or anything on your dashboard, this feature actually makes it much more easier, much more user friendly. Um, so I like to show an overview of this topic and at the same time an example. Before we jump in, just thought I'll introduce myself a bit. I am actually I'm based in Dubai, but I'm originally from Chennai and I've been here for like 16 years. Um, so Tableau has been what to say, it was a journey during my COVID times. So I basically picked up Tableau during COVID and learned it and kind of got into the community. And since then, my Tableau journey just kicked off, and all to the data farm community. They were actually the reason behind me getting introduced and um, getting all the accolades that I have today. So, thanks to them. Um, so yeah, let's jump into the topic of dynamic zone visibility. So this feature was actually introduced by Tableau in 2022.3 version. So why and what is the use of dynamic zone visibility? With dynamic zone visibility, you are able to actually either hide or reveal zones. So when we say zones, it means any kind of an object on the dashboard. And that object could either be a floating object or a tiled object or any sort of even your filters or your parameters. The reason why Tableau had actually introduced such a feature is when we make dashboards, we sometimes tend to put a lot of components in it, which is useful, may be useful for the user. The stakeholder might ask us a lot of charts, but it does not necessarily have to be shown on the dashboard. It could be hidden, or it could be on the tooltip. So, Tableau had mentioned that the reason why they introduced such a feature is to save up some real estate on your dashboard and make it look very clean and neat. So, I will show you an example where we can actually sheet swap, and it's a very cool feature, and a lot of use cases actually can be done with DCV. To understand dynamic zone visibility, I actually wanted to break down the word itself and try to understand word by word. What does it actually mean? So, when it comes to dynamic, it means that, first of all, this feature can actually be enabled through parameters. So, either it's just the parameter or it is the parameter action. And when we use a parameter, we know that we can use it by clicking on drop down or like a filter, right? We can do it by just those actions, or we can also enable this feature using different kind of actions such as hover, select, or even a menu. So dynamic, it just not necessarily mean that you have to use just the drop down feature of the parameter itself, but it can be enabled through different actions. If we go into zone, what does zone mean? So zone actually pertains to any item that you want that you want to activate dynamic zone visibility feature. Like for example, you can actually enable it on any of your worksheets, any of your charts. You can even activate dynamic zone on any of the objects here. So even on an image, on a blank object, or a text, they can be enabled, and even also on the legends and on filters or even the parameter drop down. So this feature can be enabled on any of these zones. And when we talk about visibility, it basically involves like how are you going to control whether you want to hide or show the view using this feature. So the way that we um, do the way that this is actually enabled is when you go into the dashboard part, there is a layout. So under layout, we have this new feature that is introduced by Tableau where you have control visibility using. So when we do the example, we'll be able to see what are the options that pops down. So either it is a parameter or through a calculated field. So that is how we actually enable the visibility. Now, when we talk about what are the steps, or you could say ingredients, that we would need to enable dynamic zone visibility on any of our objects in the dashboard, we have to first of all ensure that most of the time, or actually almost all of the time, it is a parameter. First, we have to make sure that we create a parameter. To enable that parameter, we are going to create a calculated field. And once the calculated field has been created, we actually enable it under the layout option in control visibility. And you can see the drop down where you have options like parameters or the calculated fields themselves. And last but not the least, the most important is all the sheets or all the objects on your dynamic zone visibility has to be inside the same container. So either it can be a vertical or a horizontal container, but if it is not in the same container, it doesn't work. So that is very essential. So these four things have to be, they are the main ingredients for your dynamic zone visibility to work. And what are the supported field types? Meaning, um, the field or what kind of a data type it should be, right? The field or the parameter. It could be either a Boolean, that is true or false, any value, single value, and it is independent of the width, meaning that it can also be based upon an LOD calculation. Personally, I have worked on the first two, Boolean and single value. LOD calculation, I have not yet come across any example as such. It would be nice to see someone on the community work on something with an LOD. And the use cases. So these are some of the very common use cases I have seen for dynamic zone visibility. One is swapping your worksheets. Then there is drill down. You can zoom in and zoom out of your charts, slide out charts, and also you can control the view of filters and legends. So today I'll actually be talking about swapping worksheets. So very basic, very simple, but good to actually start off with dynamic zone visibility. Now I will switch to Tableau. So to understand dynamic zone visibility much better, it's also very important to know the concept of parameters and parameter actions. So it will be good if you have a good understanding of it, but not a very deep understanding, I would say, but um, a good understanding of of parameters would be good. Can you see the Tableau screen now?
No, Shaheen. We can see the PPT, but not the Tableau screen.
Okay, let me share it again. Yeah,
Yeah, we can see.
all right, thank you. So here I have just created three charts, right? So I have created bar, line, and a map. So the concept is I want to switch between these charts using dynamic zone visibility. Okay, so how are we going to do that? One is we're going to do it with parameter, and the other one is we're going to do it with parameter actions. So first, let me start on how can we actually do it with the help of just um, creating a simple parameter. So yeah, so first thing is you go into create parameter, and then you say, I'm going to call it as chart type. And it's going to be a string with the list of the names of the charts. So it's a bar, line, and a map. And we say okay. And if we try to show the parameter, we can see that we have all three options. Now we have to tell Tableau that if I choose my bar, I need my bar chart to appear. If I choose my line chart, I need my line chart to appear. And if I choose map, map should appear. So for that, we're going to create a calculated field. And in that calculated field, I'm going to just call this as bar. I'm going to say if my chart type is equal to bar. So this is going to come out as a Boolean statement. So it's just a true or false statement. And now I'm going to add this into my filter. And I'm going to use the option of use all. I'm not going to select true or false. I'm going to use all. So it's going to be considering both the options. Yeah. And at the same time, I'm going to duplicate this and do the same thing for the rest of the charts. This would be line, and the other chart is line. And always make sure that whenever you're trying to name or your parameters in your calculated field, it should be the same as what you have mentioned here, because it's case sensitive, and if there's any kind of a spelling error, it doesn't match the spelling, it won't pop up, or parameters won't work. So that's a very important tip to remember. And we will duplicate this, edit this, and this would be the map. So now I'm going to go into line, bring in this on my filters and use all. I'm going to go into map and do the same thing. And now let's get into the dashboard. So as I said before, it's very important to bring them all in one container. So now I have a blank object here, which is just kept as a placeholder. I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to start bringing all my charts into the view. So now we can see the parameter here. I'm just going to make this as a floating because I don't want to bring that container on the right? So now slowly I'll bring all the charts, and always remember that good to know a bit about how to work around with containers. When you try to put in the chart at the right corner, that means that it's going to be in the same container. Whereas if it's going to be like this, it's actually going to be outside your container. So if I put it here, now we can see that, okay, yeah, they're side by side. But one good way to actually understand where my containers are and how it is working is under layout, you can actually go into item hierarchy and just start understanding the containers here. So I have my horizontal container, and under that I have my bar and my line chart. So basically they're all in the same container. Now, if I try adding the map, it's all added on the same container. So good way to understand containers, and it's very useful, especially if you have a lot of dashboard items. You can even sort of rename it, and it's good to when you try and go back to understand what charts I've used where, it's very good to actually recognize it using this way. Now, how do we use dynamic zone here? First thing is you go into the layout, and now nothing is clicked because we need to click on the object that we want dynamic zone to be enabled on. So First, we will start with the bar. So click on the bar, or even you can click in any of the objects here. So when you click on control visibility, you will see the options, the calculated fields that we have. I'm going to click on bar for this. And for line, I'll be clicking on line. And now you see line has disappeared. And if you click on map here, you will see the map is gone. So now if we try to switch, it will switch easily. Yep. So this is the basic of how to use dynamic zone visibility. Now, if suppose this is a very uh, boring option, like if the user says to make it more UI UX kind of friendly, if the user says I want to click on an object and switch between my charts, so that is where we will use parameter action. So here I've just created a dummy sheet where I added all my chart type. It's just an Excel sheet with all the three chart types, and basically I've added it in shapes and used some custom shapes. So I'm going to add this sheet here. Let me remove this. Yeah. And let me take off the title. Okay, so I have some icons here, and now by the click of these icons, I want to change my sheets. The way that we do that is we go into actions, and under actions, we have change parameters. That's parameter action. So here I'm just going to name it as, again, chart type, very simple name. And always parameter, I give it an indication of p dot chart types or something like that, even for the parameter itself. And I will select only the icons chart. That's going to be my source sheet. And my target parameter is going to be the chart type. And the source field would be the chart type sheet. And we're going to have action on select, and clearing the selection will not do anything. We're just going to keep the current value. We click on OK and OK. Let's test it out. And yeah, so now we click on any of the icons and we can swap our sheets using these icons. So either it's through our parameters or through our icons. That's about dynamic zone visibility from my side. Any questions, or we'll take up questions at the end?
We can, if there is any question, we can take now, or you can put it in the Q&A module, and we can answer it out there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great presentation, Shaheen, and I think it's it's been a wonderful feature that Tableau has brought in specifically for this specific use case, and I've used it multiple times, and I enjoy it a lot using this feature.
Yeah.
Great. And so we have the winner for the this section, this topic. So that's Harsh Jani. So Harsh, congratulations. And uh, could you maybe just DM us your email ID, and then we'll get back to you with the other further steps. Great. Okay. So Now, heading back to Shane, maybe you can stop sharing. We can, yeah, thank you. So now we have a second wonderful speaker, and yes, Prasan, exciting topic is it indeed. Excited for the pulse, and we have Prashant Momaya from. He's a senior director at of solution engineering at Tableau Salesforce. He has about 2 decades of experience in business intelligence and analytics market, and one of that decade is with Tableau. So it's a big thing, and we are so happy to have him on our event and talk about Tableau Pulse. And when he is not helping customers find insights into the data, he is often seen hiking through Himalayas. That's a wonderful thing. I always seen Himalayas through photos and videos, but then it's wonderful. So someday probably we could go together. That would be fun. And he's also a TEDx speaker, so that's an interesting thing. So probably maybe Prashant, maybe if you have a link to that sessions, you can probably share it with us. And over to you, Prashant, and let show us the pulse of Tableau.
Uh, Absolutely. And thank you, Viraj and Jyoti for um, uh, your restart of the Mumbai tug. I hope this really works out and you get a continuous stream of events going. And Shine, that was an awesome presentation, right? I have been a Tableau user since I don't know when. Right? In fact, the first time you used Tableau, there wasn't even Tableau server. It was a desktop product only. Uh, I'm talking 2004, 2005. And to come all the way here and see some of the things that the community actually has asked for to show up in the product, right? I mean, things around if you look at the community forums, right, they are loaded with jugards for making all this stuff work. And finally, they decided to, the product team decided to put it in the product. So it is amazing. It's just amazing the amount of innovation that keeps coming out of our product team. So I am going to spend about, again, about 15, 20 odd minutes talking about Tableau Pulse and where's my share? Let me share and then we'll go from there. Let me share my entire screen. Okay. So uh, this is not going to be like a technical deep dive into Pulse, right? Because the product is still in beta. I don't know. Is there anybody on this, in this call who has actually got their hands on real live Pulse through a trial, or your companies have, got it enabled for their own sites or something like that? Has anybody managed to touch on it so far?
I have tried it on the personal site for
Okay,
which is given to the ambassadors. But yeah,
okay, yeah, no, absolutely right. And look at what how people, why was Tableau there, right? Why is Tableau so popular? Because Tableau works on making sure that people who need to work with the data have the shortest, easiest path to work with the data overall. Now, I have a bunch of stuff open here. Let me open, let's say I have opened the CFO dashboard, right? This is my Tableau Cloud home. I'm just taking the finance overview. Let's say I am the CFO of a bank. And I go in here, I have a bunch of KPIs, I have some sales, and I have some achievement, I have some margins, and I have some growth, right? These are all KPIs, metrics, things that I'm interested in running my business, right? I need to keep on top of them and see what is happening. Those are then broken up by several dimensions in which I am working, right? I have products and I have regions and I have, customer types, so on and so forth. There's a whole bunch of information that is coming to me today in the form of a dashboard. The dashboard has multiple KPIs. The dashboard has multiple things for me to focus on. A lot of the work all of you are doing is making this experience as seamless and smooth and as exciting as possible for the people who are actually consuming the data. You're making this data interesting for them. You're making yourself looking for those nuggets of information and insight and saying, what can I do with this now? So if I look at, this overall experience, this experience has been around for, I don't know, maybe around at least 20 years, right? Dashboards are at least 20 years old overall from the earliest times. Everybody has been so used to consuming data via dashboards. Uh, but is the dashboard, dashboards are great, and they are great for a certain type of a user doing a certain type of a thing overall. So how do we, do this today? And I'm going to jump into my PowerPoint, and my PowerPoint game is not quite what Shaheen says, but we shall go from there. Okay, so you have data on one side, you have people who are interested in this data on the other side, right? Overall. Now, how do we do this today? So you're going to do a little bit of data prep. You're going to look at this data and say, okay, I need to transform it, I need to clean it, I need to filter it, I need to pivot it or unpivot it or whatever, right? You're going to do a bunch of steps. And those, in terms of Tableau, are going to result in data sources, right? So either you're going to embed those data sources within workbooks, or those data sources are going to get published to server for everybody else to use, depending on how you choose to build and how you choose to govern. There is different ways in which, whether embedded data sources, but you eventually get to a data source, right? The data source is the start of every Tableau workbook there is. There is no Tableau workbook that exists that does not have a data source attached to it. Once you have the data source, you're going to build workbooks, right? You're going to build charts. You're going to build, different types of interactions. You're going to do all the amazing stuff that Shaheen showed you to improve user experience around that. And then the user gets to consume a bunch of stuff that is available to them within the workbook, right? And that is great because it allows you to do so many things in detail, in depth, manage and control a user experience. And there's a whole bunch of science that has evolved around what is the best way to do some of this, right? All of you heard about all the stuff around pre-attentive attributes, best practices on performance. So you've been practicing a lot of that. But now look at it from the point of view of these people who are actually consuming the data. If I am the CFO of the bank, uh, what am I interested in? I am interested in my KPIs, my metrics. What is happening to those numbers? Uh, when you create a dashboard, so the human being is basically in charge of looking at, hey, what is happening to those numbers? Can I pick up a trend? Can I pick up a pattern? uh, and that is where all the stuff around the pre-attentive attribute comes in. You show stuff, oh, the color has changed here, the shape has changed there, the thickness of the line has changed, so on and so forth. You're able to get people the kind of what I would say, direct their attention to where what has changed. But then technology has evolved, right? We have a whole bunch of uh, artificial intelligence coming in. There's progressions in stats and algorithms and stuff like that. And those are also really interesting to apply to this problem of how do we make it easier for people to consume and act on data, right? Tableau's original mission was and still remains is help people see and understand data, right? So how do you make that better? So if I go ahead and say, okay, I still have this data and I still do data prep, but let's say I could create workbooks with it, but also using the same Tableau data, if I created metrics, just like standalone metrics, saying that, hey, this is what sales means, and this is what growth means, and this is what achievement means, and this is what you know monthly average users means, and this is what inventory turns means, and this is what my sales pipeline looks like, right? So I can create metrics because a lot of people are interested in their KPIs and their metrics. And then I could use those metrics to basically do things like, basically throw the power of all the AI and stats stuff, and then look at, can I discover insight, right? Can I automate this? How do I collaborate and communicate those insights? How do I create new experiences over that? And that is where Pulse comes in, right? So let me get out from here and actually take you through the product. So this is very important to understand why, right? What does it do? It does not like replace dashboards and stuff like that. Dashboards are great. It allows you to go detailed, in depth. It lets you put contrasting things next to each other, right? So it allows you to construct, I would say, let's say a tapestry, and Jyoti is the artist here. Some sort of a painting where there are multiple elements that come together. In case of uh, you know the metrics, it allows you to focus, right? Stay focused on one thing and go deep with it. So on Tableau Cloud, you have this option called Pulse. So if I open that up, it drops me into Tableau Pulse, right? Up there, it gives you a warning saying that you're about to use Tableau AI. It's just a standard disclaimer because anything that uses generative AI uh, uh, should be used by making sure it is doing the right thing. Right? Finally, uh, uh, there is a good reason for not always trusting the machine. Right? Just make sure that things are working well, but that warning is out there. So the first thing I can do is, and I talked about metrics, right? So and I'll show you a bunch of stuff. Now I could define a new metric. I could pick, and this is your data sources, right? You published a data source to Tableau server. You are able to create a metric from that data source, and let's say, let me just pick to, I don't know. Let's take just this one. Connect. Uh, Beta software problems, unknown error. We'll figure out if that error becomes known uh, at some point in time. Let's say this is sales, or let me call this revenue. I would say, sales amount, right? And say this, oh, okay, it looks like there is some problem. Hold on. The demo guards are not very helpful to me today. Hold on, let me refresh this page and see if it works. Yeah, let me pick something else. Oh, okay, this one works. Okay, say revenue. I'll select a field which is called, let's say, sales. I want what kind of aggregation I want on it. How does the sparkline show? Uh, I can add a time dimension of order date, and that's it, right? So I am just selecting a bunch of stuff to create a metric definition. It's null because the date on this is really old, right? This is not a data source that is getting refreshed every day. So it's basically, there is no prior year, there is nothing. I can get rid of a bunch of stuff. uh, there isn't anything, but yeah, I can create this. But let me cancel this and go back to uh, so once I do that, I have a whole bunch of metrics that are out here, right? I'm hitting error. Anyway, so you have a whole bunch of metrics. I can go and say, okay, let's say delinquency. I want to, look at the metrics details, or I can click on a metric and I don't know. Ooh, all of them are coming null, or just a few. These are supposed to work, but never mind. Never mind. We'll go ahead
Maybe
with that.
some issue with the connection.
Yeah, no, I think there is they're changing something, right? It's beta software, so
Yeah.
uh, Typically, Thursday night, Friday morning is a refresh of the. But in yeah, we'll see if something else works. Let me try this one. This one should work. Okay, this one. So let's say there's a bunch of metrics, and I could choose to like follow a metric, right? We are used to this on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever. We are used to following stuff. So you go in and say follow, right? I became the first follower of that. If I go back and I look at my following metrics, I am following these four metrics for now, right? So I'm following test drives in Guwahati. Following, my last quarter sales inquiries. I'm ad spend month to date and last quarter test drives, right? Overall. Now, what is this showing me? So if I, let's open this one, right? Oh, actually, let me go back. So what does it do, right? So I could pick, look at this. A user is getting, and I would advise, some of you who are doing this to actually see how many dashboards does a user get, right? There are certain users who are getting anywhere from, 5 to 15 dashboards, right? To do different things overall. And there are different metrics in different places. So if the user, let's say I'm a sales user, but I'm also interested in some finance metrics, and I'm also interested in some HR metrics. So I have to pop on to all these different places at times, because not everybody is going to build a single data source. Not everybody is going to assemble it into a single workbook for me. So I'll have to pop into all these different places to look at different metrics, right? Different aspects of my business. What metrics does is assembles everything in one place for you, because you have the metric, and then from the metric you can do whatever you want. So I can up here I could be tracking, I don't know, 50 metrics, and here is where the interesting stuff starts happening, right? Saying that, okay, out of the metrics I'm following, last quarter sales inquiries was only this much, test drives were also low. However, this month ad spend is going up. You have increased ad spend 200%, right? So it is giving you interesting blurbs of information that makes it easier for you to understand the data around you, right? It is actually telling you this is what is interesting in your data, because you may have hundreds of metrics, but out of those hundreds of metrics at any given point of time, there may be 10 that are interesting. The others may be just business as usual, right? Why do I need to go and pay a lot of attention to them? I want to know what is going on upfront, and this is the power of what the statistical algorithms are doing. There's a bunch of them, and I'll show you some of them. They're actually helping you with this, and then it is generating this language, right? So it is actually giving you in a nice sort of a sentence that here this is what happened, and this is where the generative part is coming in. Right? It is looking at this data and then generating language around it so that people can consume it easier overall. Right? Each one of these metrics cards actually has a little blurb down there, right? And says, test drives in Q4 was 3,000 and was below the expected range, right? So it's actually looking at the expected value, right, which is that blue band, and saying that this one has dropped out of the expected value, right? There's a statistical calculation there, and says it has dropped down. And if I open up the same thing here, right? So it does a whole bunch of stuff. If I open it up, it sort of says that test drives is highly volatile, and it gives you a bunch of understanding of the data that is sometimes not easiest to pick up off a dashboard, right? The dashboard is valuable, but it does not always make it easiest for the user or easier for the user to consume all the stuff that they're getting overall. This is supposed to enhance that user experience around that. I would look at, one of the ways I look at Pulse is a whole new user experience around data. Right? Dashboards is one user experience, Pulse is another user experience around data. Now you have two options of how you want to do this. Now, another thing it does is, because it sees the data, it is actually able to generate questions. Right? Saying that, hey, if if I, as somebody who's, let's say, managing, this is test drive, so I'm, let's say, a sales manager for automobile car somewhere, there would be a high probability that if something has not gone right, I want to know where, right? And so it looks at that data source and then comes out with a set of questions that it thinks are relevant. And so for example, I want to say, oh, test drives are dropping. Which region decreased the most? I click, right? The moment I click, and by the way, this is live. Okay, this is not like this. This is actually in the product in beta right now. Right? The launch is coming shortly overall, and I can see that compared to last quarter, test drives decreased by 5,000. Guwahati, Mumbai, and Lucknow decreased the most overall. Right, so I can see, hey, Guwahati has decreased the most overall, right? Uh, and then, right, what is the trend? So it gives you a bunch of stuff that makes your conversation with the data easier, right? So you're going deeper, 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 and trying to understand what is going on there overall. Yeah, and you can share it, and you can send it out to Slack and Teams and stuff like that. But the whole point is this entire experience around the data, right? This is what Pulse is set to enable. Now let me go back and talk about a couple more things, right? Let me just stick to this one and say, right? So I had this. Right? There's various ways. This was my overall, let's say, test drives. Oops. Hold on. Let's change the navigation a bit. Let me go back to that and look at test drives. Test drives. And if I go in and I can, let's say, edit this metric, right? So it's again, right? There's something that has gone wrong here. Uh, but look at it. It's able to sort of, give you a whole bunch of stuff on how to, change some of this. Now, let me talk a little bit about the insights, right? So what makes something interesting? And this is where the insights come into play overall. So you can saying that if the value increases, is that favorable or unfavorable? Right? You want to be able to give it a little bit of metadata around that metric, saying that up is good, up is bad, right? So up in case of test drives is good, but up in case of failures is bad, right? So you can actually go define what it means to it. And then there is a bunch of algorithms that are applied, right? So currently you have these 6 methods. The first one is called risky monopoly. So for example, if there are certain dimensions that have concentrations of extremely high value, so let's say everybody's familiar with the superstore data set, and let's say if I had regions, right? I have these 4 regions, and let's say there was a large concentration of values in the north or the east, right? That will show you saying that, hey, this region is like contributing a lot, right, for that value. Then there are top drivers. By the way, I think a blog post will come out at a certain point in time which describes this very technically for those who are inclined. Uh, for metrics that increase the most across a time period, right? So it looks at the history and says, oh, previously it was this way, now these metrics are really shooting up. It looks at the current trend, the rate of change direction. Is it going up? Is it going up fast? Is it going down? Is it going down slow? uh, Bottom contributors, right? So dimensions with the lowest contribution, sometimes you want that also, right? Overall, especially for negative numbers. Negative numbers, like something has dropped, so you want to know where the maximum drop has been. uh, Top detractors, so basically something that subtracts, and then if there is a change in trend, right? Something was heading down and now it's going up, right? So let's say failures were going down and now they're going up. So there has been a distinct change in trend. So it applies all these rules. By the way, you could turn off a few of them, right? So if you understand what's going on, you could go turn this off if you wanted it. Right now, by default, everything, all of them are enabled. So again, right, this is exciting stuff because it also provides us new stuff to learn. Because now you have to go in and learn, saying that, oh, what the hell is risky monopoly, right? How does Pulse compute new trend? So is it meaningful to my data and so on and so forth? So it just helps you with that. So you can do a whole bunch of stuff around that, and as the community, I'm sure you will invent new ways of actually using this, and I'm just excited for what all of you do with it. So uh, so this is fundamentally what Tableau pulses, right? And pulse was like literally, the pulse that the doctor feels, right? Get a pulse in your business and then deep dive via a dashboard. So, for example, you could, depending on how it works, and this is something that, is because the metrics are there, the metrics is also connected to a dashboard, right? Because the same data source will be used to create a dashboard somewhere. So, deep dive via dashboard, have a natural language Q&A. There's this whole bunch of new user experiences that are enabled via Pulse overall. Uh, I'll just take, just 3-4 more minutes to first is I'll share this with you, but this blog post, right, uh, is something that I have found is one of the best public facing articles about Pulse, right? Go, read it. It just talks about all the components of Pulse, right? So what we talked about, here's the metrics layer, here's the insight. So I showed you the metrics layer, right? This is how you can create a metric. The insights platform is basically those 6 algorithms that are running and saying that is there anything insightful, interesting in this data, and then it creates this whole new experience around it, which is the metrics card and showing you what's on, and the generative experience around it overall, right? And then it has a bunch of other stuff, and what is the most important thing is it is personalized, right? uh, you may have different types of users for the same dashboard. Everybody's interested in a little different part of that dashboard, right? For example, sales and finance users may see the same dashboard, but they're doing different things with it overall. So here it lets you personalize, saying that the sales user can follow the sales pipeline, but the finance user is more focused on the cost side of it, right? So they can take those two metrics and follow them separately. So it becomes very personalized to the way I am interested in my data. The second thing is contextual. So I can take a set of metrics and put it in my context and make it available to me across, a mobile application in Slack, so on and so forth, which really makes my life easier, because you've all done this, right? Uh, you've created dashboards that work well on mobile, but it's difficult, right? The user experience of a dashboard on a small mobile phone, even with the larger screens, is not the best, right? You can get a good user experience on an iPad, let's say. But on some of the mobile phones, it's just a little more difficult to create a good user experience, especially, touch targets are small. There's a whole bunch of things that you do from a design perspective, infinite scroll and stuff like that to make mobile experience better. But this is something that is just one metrics card, right? Every metrics is a card. It just makes it simpler, right? Imagine like Instagram or whatever TikTok or whatever you're interested in. Like it's just one card, and you just go through it overall. And then it has the smarts, right? So it has all those things that statistics and AI is enabling, in order to get interesting things in front of the customer, right? So eventually, it is lower barrier to entry to adopting all these new technologies, to apply automation to things that required a lot of human intervention before, right? And so this is out there on the Tableau blog. uh, I would highly recommend all of you read it, and sort of take some of this stuff and incorporate it in your learning, and hopefully the product will be live soon. It's still in beta, and we'll have some awesome stuff that the community builds with this. So that's all I had. Sorry for the little few errors. Things are not perfect yet, but will be soon. Any questions, comments?
There is a question from Vedant. It says, can you customize or filter your metrics based on the date range you want to see by default in any metric?
Yes, you can. So if I go in here, let me. Uh, oh no. So let's just take this. So you have, a definition filter. So I can go in and say, okay, let's say, so, right? So for example, the comparison. See, right now it is with respect to, because it is looking at stuff going ahead, right? It wants the metric to be in real time. So what you can do is you can change stuff like, okay, what do I want it to compare it with, right? I want to compare it with previous year, previous quarter, so on and so forth. I can change that comparison, right? But the whole thing is you want that in sort of near real time, right? So as your metric is changing, you're comparing it and how it's going ahead, right? So you can do that. You can also create, you know, calculations around this, right? So I can, for example, say, okay, here is it's your familiar calculation from Tableau, right? Saying that, let's say, date of sales, right? You can do your calculations in here and create some of those definitions overall. So if you have something really specific, you get the same Tableau calculation experience in there overall. So you can sort of use that to build something really specific. But the main power of this is letting that insights layer sort of talk to that data and generate those insights for you overall.
All right. Thank you, Prashant. Another question. Does the Insights feature also reveal the opportunities for process optimization or efficiency improvements? I think it's about the data optimization, maybe, if it is skewed or something.
Yeah. So the way I understood that question is more of, okay, this is going down. What should you do about it? Right? Is that the right way? I mean, whoever asked that question, is that
Uh,
right?
Not sure.
So, if it, so Vedant, if that makes sense to you, just give me a thumbs up or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Y-
that's what he meant.
Yeah. Okay. So look, not right now, right? Not right now, because there could be so many different things that you could do about it, and some of them may not even live in your data source. So, for example, your data source may be showing the impact of changes that happened somewhere else, right? Let's take a really simple example of, you know, test drives, right? That I showed here. test drives are impacted by your ad spends and your marketing campaigns and stuff like that. But the data set you get over here may have may not have any of that data. It may be a completely different marketing campaign data. There is, and you obviously see in the demos, there is work happening to say that, hey, these two metrics are related, and then what happens over there. But right now, it's just focusing on providing insights. But you are absolutely, you know, directionally correct that this is where finally people need, right? Saying that, what should I do about it? Yeah, you're giving me this information. Can you give me also how can I change this trend, right? How can I make it go up instead of down? So uh, but yeah, not right now though.
All right. If there are no more questions, I have a question, Prashant. So you showed that when you click on a metric, it will show all the data around it, maybe a line chart, line graph showing all the parameters over time,
Mm-hmm.
monthly period. There were some questions below that,
Mm-hmm.
which you can click. Are
Yeah.
those questions customizable, or are those generated by the product itself based on the information available?
So this is automatically generated, right?
Uh,
So what it is looking at is, here is what it is, and then based on whatever insights, there is a bunch of things that it has discovered, right? So saying that, okay, these are the most interesting questions that the user should ask, right? Or is there are good answers to these questions. Look at it this way, because
yeah,
it's finally looking at the data to come up with those questions, right? It's not inventing those questions independently,
yeah. But
right?
is there a way to customize these questions if somebody wants to?
Not right now. Not right now. Not in the current release. It's just something that is fixed.
Okay. And another question. What about the like? Is the data live? Does the refresh of this data depends upon the refresh of the database which we are using, data source?
Yeah. So again, right? So as new data comes in, the metrics will recompute. The metrics will recompute. The insights will recompute. Because, for example, I can get, so I'm in Q1 now of 24, and maybe this trend is going upwards now. So it will say, okay, this trend is now. It will give you, which region increased the most, right? And maybe it gives you, hey, Calcutta test drives went up, right? So things like that. So it is actually looking at your data in real time to give you those insights.
Brilliant.
So whenever
Thank
your data refreshes,
you.
the metric changes, the insights will recompute. It actually tells you, if I go back, uh, right? Uh, it last updated 1 hour ago.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Prashant.
Yeah,
Yep.
and probably just one last question. Maybe Aizen, knowing Tableau can send out the notifications to Slack. Is it the same from Pulse? Can we get some?
Yeah. So you can get this in. So I don't have it connected, but
Yeah,
if I know we are over time, but I can
yep.
quickly show you uh, on Figma what that looks like. Wrong one. This one will error out. Hold on. I Uh, yeah, right. So I can select this group,
Oh,
and
okay.
right now I can kick out a notification that, for example, shows up in Slack,
Okay.
right? So I can get a digest in
Wonderful.
Slack overall. That is something that is there. I don't have it set up for that site, unfortunately. Right? You can get a
Y-
digest in email.
Oh, nice.
Uh,
No, that's okay. Just wanted
uh,
to confirm if that's been set up. Cool.
yeah, you can get
Wonderful.
that.
Great.
Okay.
Wonderful session, and super excited for this product to go live and maybe available for everyone to use. So, and like, and hats off to the entire team who has worked on this to get it
It's
live.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's absolutely awesome, right? This is where the consumption experience is going towards, because all the stuff you hear around, AI and language models and stuff like that, really make BI come to life. Yeah.
indeed, indeed, that's so true. Okay, so for our second quiz winner is Vedant Lakhani. Congrats. And Vedant, could you just DM me your email and we'll get back to you with the next steps? Um, okay, so I think we had some wonderful sessions today, some insightful information that we received. It was, I hope you all enjoyed it. And thank you, Shaheen and Prashant, for being there for our the revival event and the first event of this year. We hope to see you again, and uh, yeah, I think we'll keep you updated on the upcoming events. Please follow the Mumbai Tag page, and you will you will get these notifications. And the recording will be available for this session in 1 or 2 days, so keep an eye on that.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Prashant and
everyone.
Shaheen, and everyone who joined.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
All
Have
right. Bye
a
bye.
great, and we should meet soon.
Yes, we should meet soon. Yeah.
Uh, Ciao. Let's